Hello, I'm Naya, and I'm going to show you how to create a dust cover in Cricut Design Space using the square vessels from the Dollar Tree. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I know the first thing you need to do is measure the inside of the square vessel and then subtract maybe like a 16th of an inch or an eighth of an inch. That way it's not a snug fit. So I know I already did my measurements. And for that square vessel, it is 3 inches by 3 inches. What I would like to use for the dust cover is the 3 inches by 3 inches. And so it's curved. So it also has a radius of a half of an inch. And that's just by measuring it with your ruler. So in Cricut Design Space, you have to improvise. It does not have the option to create a rectangle or a square with curved angles. So I'm going to show you how I do a workaround. So let's get started. First, I want to go to Shapes, select Square, and I want to change it. So I want to change the size. So right now it has 3.111. Now I have my screen maximized. Now, if you don't, you will see it'll say more. So if you select that shape, you'll go up to the drop down and it'll have more. And then that's where you get your size, rotate, and position. So I'm going to go ahead and maximize it again so I can have that at my toolbar. So I want to select my square and I want to get it down to the appropriate measurement. So that's going to be 3 by 3. Now I type in 3 where it says size and width, and then I hit tab and then it automatically updates. This lock means it's going to lock in the proportions. So it's going to maintain that. If you unlock it, then you can have width by 3 and then height by 6 if you want it to. And that's if you want it to create like a rectangle. So now that I have that in place, I want to go to Shapes and select a circle. Now I mentioned it is a 1/2 inch radius. So a 1/2 inch radius is only part of it. So I know I want a full 1 inch diameter in order to get a 1/2 inch radius. So let me go ahead and do that right now. So I have my circle selected and I want to type in 1 because again, in order to get a 1/2 inch radius, I just need a 1 inch. All right. Now I have 4 corners. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate right now. So I'm going to select it and I need to duplicate it 3 more times in order to get 4 circles. So what I'm going to do now is go to my layers on the right side and hit duplicate 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just going to kind of move the square out the way and select one of the circles and kind of position them. I'm not doing anything but putting them in the place that I know where it's going to go in order to create that radius. Now I need to select, now listen closely, the square and one of the circles. So I am going to select up here at the top of the square, top middle. I'm going to hold down the left mouse button. I'm not releasing it yet because I'm going to get this window. And with this window, I need it to cover the square and the circle and then release. Right now, those 2 shapes are selected. So I want to go over to Align. And I want to align this one to the left. I also want to align it to the top. Perfect. That circle is placed. Now I just want to click off to the side so it deselects. I'm going to do the same thing with the upper right corner. So I'm going to do a left click, drag over the 2 shapes, and then release. I'm going to go to Align, right, and then Align top. Perfect. That circle is right where I want it. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. I'm going to select in the middle, just beneath, and do a left select and then release. So again, you're holding down your mouse and you're not releasing it until you get up and you cover both shapes. And this alignment is actually going to be align bottom. Let's undo that really quickly because it actually shifted everything and I don't want it to shift everything. So what I'm going to do right now is select in the upper right corner, there's 2 circles at the top and a square, and release, and I'm going to group it because I don't want it to move. And that's fine that we can't see it anymore if you go to the right, because now I can select the square and now it's going to select the 2 circles, and I'm going to go to arrange and I'm going to send to back. Now you can see them. Okay, now release. So now what I want to do is what I was doing previously. I'm going to select in the middle, just below the square, and do a drag over the square and the lower left circle and then release. Now I can do my align bottom and align left. Perfect. And then click off. And now I want to hover over the right side and do align bottom and then align. Let me undo that because it shifted everything. I don't want it to shift to everything. So I undid that part. So far I aligned bottom. And now let me go ahead and do a drag and group. Okay, so that way everything will move together. So the purpose of me grouping it is so I'm not getting a lot of shifting. And since it's still selected, let me click off, click again, arrange and send to back so I can bring that circle up. Now I can do a hold, drag, select the square, the grouping, and the lower right circle, go to align right. Now everything shifted to the right. Perfect. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go over to the groups in the layers. I have a lot of groupings over here. Now I can select it and ungroup. I'm going to have to do it twice because remember I made 2 groupings. So that was 1, and I'm going to select group again and ungroup 2. Perfect. Now this part we're going to have to do more than once because you can only slice in Cricut Design Space with 2 shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the middle, do a left click and drag, and just drag over the left circle and the square. Perfect. And I'm going to slice it. Awesome. Now I could move it back, but I already know that there's a circle here. So for the sake of efficiency, I'm just going to do a left click, drag. I know that circle is there, and do another slice. All right, now just to show you, if I drag and I go over all of those shapes, so that's 3 shapes, it won't let me slice it. See how it's not highlighted? So again, you can only do 2 shapes. So slice. And then the last one, and slice. Awesome. So now what I need to do is contour. So now after everything's been sliced, we're just going to go to our layers panel and select slice result and go down to contour. In contour, we want to select the triangular shapes on the right side and then close it out. All right. That looks good. Now we want to go up to select all in the upper toolbar and weld. Now we have a nice rectangular shape that's going to be our dust cover in order to, with the 1/2 inch radius. So now that part was the hard part, Now we can go into shapes and create the tab. So I'm going to go to shapes, go to circle. Now this is maintaining the proportions, and now I want to unlock it. And because I want it to get like an oval type of look, maybe a little over a ½ inch. And I want to center it. So what I do is kind of hover over where the center, or I can put it over there and select the two shapes, align, and then center horizontal. All right. Now I want to select the two shapes by doing a left click drag over the two shapes, and I want to weld it together. Perfect. That's my tab. Now this is going to be a little tricky because I want 2 wicks. I'm going to double wick it. So I know I want to go in 1 inch up and 1 inch over. So in order to do that, I want to select, and I want to position this at 0, my X and my Y at 0, so it can help me. Because now I know I want to position a wick that's going to be at 1, 1, and then I want to position my other wick to be at 2 and 2. So I'm going to go into shapes, go to circle, and I want this to be 0.2, just under a ¼ inch. So I'm going to hit 0.2, up in size at the top, tab, and it's going to go down. And I'm going to go ahead and type in a position. I said I want it to be X is 1 and Y is at 1. Perfect. That's exactly where I want it to be located. Now I am going to create another circle, and I'm going to change the size to 0.2 and then tab. And I'm going to change the position to, I want it at 2, tab, and 2. There we go. Now it's important that in order to make that happen, your initial welded square dust cover needs to be positioned at 0, 0 for the X and Y axis in order to make that happen, what I did. So now that I have that, I can slice out the 2 holes. So I just want to hover over the right hole and the shape and hit slice. And now I just want to select the square, arrange, and send to back. And now I want to do a left click drag and only select the upper circle and the slice result and hit slice. And now I'm just going to move it out the way so I can delete my holes. So I'm going to move it out the way, select, and delete. I can hit the X to delete it. All right, so now I have the basics of the square dust cover. And all I need to do now is to add my information. So what I want to do is I want to upload my logo. So this time I'm going to upload it. So I'm going to hit upload. And these are some images that I have, and my logo is right here. So if you didn't have it here, you would go to upload image, and it either can be a JPEG, a GIF, a PNG, any of these files you can upload, but mine is here. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert the image. It might come in very large, and it's an SVG file, which is okay. It's all grouped, so I'm not too concerned. But what I can do is select it and position it, highlight that to 0 and 0. That way you can bring it all the way over. And then I'm just going to use the bottom to scroll all the way over to 0, 0. And now I need it to be a lot smaller. So I'm going to select it because it came in at 21 inches. Let's do it at 1 inch and see what it does. 1 and then tab. And that's just so I can at least get it down so I can see it. Now I can kind of manually move it around and do it how I would like it. So let's say I'll put it right here, and I can select the 2, align, and center horizontal so it can kind of shift. And let me add a little more stuff. Let me add some writing, like let's say I want to do hand poured in Maryland. Now, I typed in their font. I'm going to be charged, and because I don't have Cricut Design Space. So let me select it and then just go up to font, go to system, and let's select something that's legible. Let's see, what does that Arial black look like? It might be a little thick, but let's see. Let's put that right there. And let me go ahead and type in a little bit more. How about, let's say, this one is going to be my soy coconut blend. So let me go ahead and add that in there. Then reduce it. I don't know. It might be a little too thick. All right. And the last thing I want to add, maybe something a little decorative. So let's go ahead and go to images. And I want to search something in Cricut Design Space, but I want to go to ownership and I want to filter it to the free items. So let me select free. And let me just scroll on down to see if I see anything that I like. And you don't have to use their stuff. You can always upload your own if you wanted to, or you can use some of the items they have in here. But I know I want to use these lips. And go to insert. And the size is a little large, so I'm just going to go in the lower right corner where it has the arrows and reduce it. I'm going to put it right in the middle. So all I really want to do is select everything and then just align horizontally. So it shifted a little. That way everything is centered. So there's a few things I need to do and then we're almost done. I need to select the lips, go up to operation, select where it has the solid color and make these lips red. Now I want to select the slice result, which is the square background, and I want to make this white. We need it to be white in order to print, otherwise it's going to print the gray. I don't want gray, I want white background. I don't want it to print anything. I want to have a white dust cover. So now that that's done, the last step we have to do is select everything and flatten it. So I'm going to do a select all. If this is the only thing on the screen, is select all. In the right side where it has the layers, I'm going to go to the bottom and flatten it. This is very important you do in order to print and cut. Otherwise, it will print around every single letter and every single thing on here, or it's going to cut around that, and we don't want that. So now if you look on the right side, it has the print then cut, and it shows you the outline of the shape. You can't really see it here because it's a white background, but if I just go in the shapes and do a large square, right now I just need to go up to arrange, send to back. Now you can actually see it. So this is what is going to print and cut. And I just put the square there so you can see it. So now I'm just going to select it and delete it. So the next thing I need to do is go to make it. And also I want to remind you, make sure you are saving your project because you don't want to do all this work and then lose it. So maybe, let's see. I'm going to go into make it right now. But I do, again, want to remind you to keep make sure you save before or throughout the whole process. Because it's technology, and sometimes technology does fail. Now, once it's finished, it's telling me it's sorting project in the mats by color, but I don't have any additional mats. It should only be one mat because it's a print and cut. What I'm going to do is make 4 of them, because I believe I can have 4 on this one sheet. So again, it's a large one. It's 3 by like 3.6 because of the tab, and that's fine. And so after you apply, so if you want to add multiple ones, and you can kind of play with it. If 4 was too many and it added another mat, you can go down to 3, 2, or 1. It's completely up to you. And when it's done, we're going to send it to printer. And when we send it to printer, we want to make sure that the bleed is turned off. The bleed is something that you can use when you're doing like a full page. So let's say, for example, you have a background and you want the entire background to print, and you don't want any like white space showing, or you don't want any lines showing beyond that. It does a full bleed where it prints beyond the cut line. That way it could be seamless. Okay, so now that it's ready, I can go ahead and hit continue. It's connecting my machine. To the maker, and then this is where you want to send to printer. Okay, so now, like I said, remove the bleed, and I connect it to my printer and hit print. And now it's going to go ahead and send this to my printer. I will print it out, and then I will cut it on the Cricut machine, and then it will be done. Thank you so much for joining me and letting me show you how I make dust covers using Cricut Design Space for the 3-inch square vessels from the Dollar Tree.